Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is November 10th, 2023, and we are in the Old Testament book of 2 Kings. We're going to read chapter 10 today. We're going to more on Jehu and his reign leading up to his death. Again, Jehu was anointed king of Israel to execute God's wrath on Ahab and his family. I guess we go all the way back to Omri, that God had his prophets announced that they were going to lose the kingdom. All of their relatives would be wiped out, especially Jezebel, Ahab. And we see Jehu continuing to go after Ahab's sons. He's going to kill 70 sons. We then see them go after Ahaziah, which is the king of Judah. He wipes out his brothers, even though he wasn't necessarily ordered to go after the king of Judah, but he's still a relative of Ahab. Then he rounds up all the worshippers of Baal, and we kind of see how shrewd and treacherous a little bit that Jehu was in executing God's command, using a little trickery to get them all together in one spot before he wipes them out. And part of it is part of this story. We see Jehu bragging about how he's executing the wrath of God with all these killings and killing everybody. But our story ends by saying, "Hey, all right, yeah, Jehu, he took to being the instrument of wrath for God against Ahab's family, and he wiped out the Baal worshippers, but he didn't bring them back to God. He brought Israel back to Jeroboam and going after the calf gods that he had set up." So we see, hey, Jehu was really all about doing God's bidding when God told him to go kill people, because he really liked killing people, but the whole bringing my people back to me, Jehu didn't really want to do that. So we see that Jehu is yet again an Israeli king that fails. And then he dies, and we're done with this section on him. And you kind of contrast Jehu to David. Now, David was God's wrath against Saul, but you know what? David had some mercy. He had some compassion. He was looking out for God's people. Jehu, we don't see any of that. Again, God said, "I want you to kill Ahab's descendants so they don't ascend the throne," and he butchered them all and just kept right on going. But he was not interested in bringing the people back to God. So let's go ahead and we're going to read 2 Kings chapter 10. Now Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria, and Jehu wrote and sent letters to Samaria, to the rulers of Jezreel, to the elders, and to those who reared Ahab's sons, saying, "Now as soon as this letter comes to you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, a fortified city also, and weapons, choose the best qualified of your master's sons, set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house." But they were exceedingly afraid, and said, "Look, 2 kings could not stand up to him. How can we stand? And he who is in charge of the house, and he who is in charge of the city, the elders also, and those who reared the sons, sent to Jehu, saying, 'We are your servants. We will do all you tell us, but we will not make anyone king. Do what is good in your sight.' Then he wrote a second letter to them, saying, 'If you are for me and will obey my voice, take the heads of the men, your master's sons, and come to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow.' Now the king's sons, 70 persons, were with the great men of the city, who were rearing them. So it was, when the letter came to them, that they took the king's sons and slaughtered 70 persons, put their heads in baskets, and sent them to him at Jezreel. Then a messenger came and told him, saying, 'They have brought the heads of the king's sons.' And he said, 'Lay them in 2 heaps at the entrance of the gate until morning.' So it was in the morning. Then he went out and stood, and said to all the people, 'You are righteous indeed. I conspired against my master and killed him, but who killed all these? Now know that nothing shall fall to the earth of the word of the Lord, which the Lord spoke concerning the house of Ahab. For the Lord has done what he spoke by his servant Elijah.' So Jehu killed all who remained of the house of Ahab in Jezreel, and all his great men, and his close acquaintances, and his priests, until he left none remaining. And he arose and departed, and went to Samaria. On the way at Beth-eked of the shepherds, Jehu met with the brothers of Ahaziah, king of Judah, and said, 'Who are you?' So they answered, 'We are the brothers of Ahaziah. We have come down to greet the sons of the king and the sons of the queen mother.' And he said, 'Take them alive.' So they took them alive, and they killed them at the well of Beth-eked, 42 men, and he left none of them. Now when he departed from there, he met Jonadab, the son of Rechab, among coming to meet him, and he greeted him and said to him, "Is your heart right as my heart is toward your heart?" And Jonadab answered, "It is." Jehu said, "If it is, give me your hand." So he gave him his hand, and he took him up to him in the chariot. Then he said, "Come with me and see my zeal for the Lord." So they had him ride in his chariot. And when he came to Samaria, he killed all who remained to Ahab in Samaria till he had destroyed them according to the word of the Lord which he spoke to Elijah. Then Jehu gathered all the people together and said to them, "Ahab served Baal a little, Jehu will serve him much. Now therefore call to me all the prophets of Baal, all his servants and all his priests. Let no one be missing, for I have a great sacrifice for Baal. Whoever is missing shall not live." But Jehu acted deceptively, in the intent of destroying the worshippers of Baal. And Jehu said, "Proclaim a solemn assembly for Baal." So they proclaimed it. Then Jehu sent throughout all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left who did not come. So they came into the temple of Baal, and the temple of Baal was full from one end to the other. And he said to the one in charge of the wardrobe, "Bring out vestments for all the worshippers of Baal." So he brought out vestments for them. Then Jehu and Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, went into the temple of Baal and said to the worshippers of Baal, "Search and see that no servants of the Lord are here with you, but only the worshippers of Baal." So they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had appointed for himself 80 men on the outside, and he said, "If any of the men whom I have brought into your hands escapes, whoever lets him escape, it shall be his life for the life of the other." Now it happened, as soon as he had made an end of the offering and burnt offering, that Jehu said to the guard and to the captain, "Go in and kill them, let no one come out." And they killed them with the edge of the sword. Then the guards and the officers threw them out and went into the inner room of the temple of Baal. And they brought the sacred pillars out of the temple of Baal and burned them. Then they broke down the sacred pillar of Baal and tore down the temple of Baal and made it a refuse stump to this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal from Israel. However, Jehu did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin, that is, from the golden calves that were at Bethel and Dan. And the Lord said to Jehu, "Because you have done well in doing what is right in my sight, and have done to the house of Ahab all that was in my heart, your sons shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation." But Jehu took no heed to walk in the law of the Lord, God of Israel, with all his heart, for he did not depart from the sins of Jeroboam, who had made Israel sin. In those days the Lord began to cut off parts of Israel, and Hazael conquered them and all the territory of Israel from the Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh, from Aror, which is by the river Arnon, including Gilead and Bashan. Now the rest of the acts of Jehu, all that he did, and all his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Israel? So Jehu rested with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria. And Jehoahaz, his son, reigned in his place. And the period that Jehu reigned over Israel and Samaria was 28 years. May God bless the reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye.